Hello everyone, I'm Brian, welcome back. Let's go ahead and continue.
Yes, the important thing is, I think Einstein is committing incest.
Yeah.
When he says, we will marry time and space. I don't know whether he said it or not, you said. Because what we are seeing as space, in my experience, is a consequence of time. Time has given birth to space. And our sense of time is essentially because of cyclical movements, otherwise we don't know time. Right now people are sitting here, well, if this goes for an hour and a half, two, they're okay. It doesn't matter what great truths you talk, if it becomes 4 hours, they will slowly slip out.
Yeah.
Because not the clock, their bladder keeps time,
Yeah.
their backside keeps time, their lower back keeps time. Hello? Suppose they didn't have a body, we took away their bodies, then if we sat here for 2 million years, they have no problem. We as physical beings are a consequence of time, which is essentially cyclical movements of physical material. We are a consequence of that. If we rise above our physicality, there is no sense of time in us.
It's very interesting when it says we're cyclical. I was like, how are we a cycle? But then I think of death and rebirth. This body dies, and eventually some portion of this body gets reborn. This body already is reborn portions of other bodies. Ugh, that's weird that I think about that. But it's kind of true. Obviously, when we die, this body goes to the earth, plants eat us, and then we eat the plants, or the plants is eaten by cows or animals, and then we eat the animals. So it's a cyclical thing, even in nature itself, with the death and us dying, us eating. We die, we become nutrients in the ground, plants eat us, we eat the plants, or the plants get eaten by the animals, and then we eat the animals, and then we die and go back down, or we get eaten by animals as well. So everything is cyclical.
This is what, unfortunately, the Western observers are saying is trance. Somebody has risen above his physical state. Now, he sits here, you think he's sitting here whatever number of days, but he, in his experience, he's sitting for a few moments. It's a living experience for me in my life. Then there are any number of people who've gone into deeper processes where if you make them sit in a certain state, they don't know any sense of time, time just like that. So, how much impact, when I said you can either get crushed by time, or you can be trapped by time, or you can be liberated by riding the time, how deeply you're identified with your physicality, that's how much power time has over you. If you're not so physically identified, now you are a scientist, you're lot happening up there, now you go into your laboratory or wherever you go, you don't know when to eat. There are some people, their stomach tells them all the time when to eat, when to go to the bathroom, when they should go again. In the office, you will see many of them in 8 hours of work are going to the bathroom 4 to 5 times and going to eat and drink another 5 times, because completely ruled by the body. If suddenly you became more interested in something else, you don't know when to eat, when to pee, when not to do, because bodily influence on you, the power of the body is gone. Once the power of the body is gone on you, the power of time is gone on you. So if you're completely free from that, you're beyond time process. But how do we come to this? We look at human body as a construct like this. There is a physical body, which is an accumulation of the food that we have eaten. This is the hardware that we built. There is a software which you're calling as a mental space, is it? I'm sorry, mental space. It's a mental body, we call that also as body. We're calling everything body, all the 5 aspects we call it as body, because body means you can observe, you can learn. Space is a vague thing. So there is a mental body, there is memory and information and intelligence right across. So the mental body, this is the software. Hardware, software together can do nothing unless it's plugged into power. So the third layer, we call this as the pranamaya kosha or the energy body. So it's plugged in and these things are functioning. Most human beings live their life between physical, mental bodies. Very rarely there may be little bit of experiencing the pranic body or the energy body. The next dimension of the body is called Vijnanamaya Kosha. Vijnana literally means is, jnana means to know, jnana means to know. Vijnana means it is a combination of two words, Vishesh Jnana. That means an extraordinary knowledge. Extraordinary knowledge means anything that we don't perceive through our sense perception, but we perceived it. Then we call this Vishesh Jnana or Vigyan. Today in India, the word science has been described as Vigyan. Right now in school subjects, it's called Vignan. Because we are saying this is extraordinary knowledge, because what your eyes could not see, your telescope saw. So we are saying you are having extraordinary knowledge, because beyond the sense perception you extended it somehow. It doesn't matter how you extended it, somehow using a physical mechanism or using your own power of extending your eyes, somehow or the other you saw something that your eyes cannot see. So we call this Vigyan. So general science is called Vigyan in India now. So this Vijnanamaya Kosha, for lack of English words, some people describe it as the etheric body. What this means is, it's a transitional body. Between physicality and non-physicality, there's a transition. So now, from what you are saying, because I'm not much of a scientist by any standards, so what I perceive is, science is little bit putting its tentacles or its, what do you call this, the cockroach two things?
Antennas.
Huh? Antenna.
Antenna.
You're putting your antenna into Vijnanamaya Kosha, but not able to enter. The fifth layer of the body, we call it as bliss body, not because there's a bubble of bliss inside, simply because we do not know what is its nature. Because it's not physical at all, we cannot define by any word or describe it by any description. So we say bliss body because this is child's language. It is like your child sees a speaker, let's say, a speaker like this, and you say boom, boom. So in that language we are talking. When we touch it, our experience becomes so blissful. So we are saying this is bliss body. We are not saying that is the nature of that. We are saying when we touch it, we eat something and it's sweet. Because sweet is our experience. That is not the nature of what it is. This is our experience, so we call it bliss body. Right now, please, I am not trying to be countering something, I am just trying to define my understanding of this. From what you are saying, I see that you are nibbling at Vijnanamaya Kosha. But to cross it, if you don't come out of the other day I called it a dungeon, today I will remain into foundation. The foundations of logic you must cross, because logic can function only with two, this and that. Without that you cannot. Now these two things have gone till here, it needs to become like this. So somebody married, time and space, that needs to happen within us. This marriage of time and space or merger of time and space can only happen if you transcend your physical nature, otherwise it will not go there.
I entirely accept that one reaches a point beyond logic, beyond mathematics, but nevertheless, I would argue that you can extend the logic and the mathematics beyond the physical domain, because I was making a distinction between physical time and another level of time which is not physical but nevertheless subject to logic and subject to mathematics. So I think what I'm saying is that there's an intermediate regime between the material domain, which most physicists think about, and that domain which goes beyond logic and mathematics altogether. So I think what I'm talking about, what I'm nibbling at, if you like, is that intermediate domain. So I don't think that's in contradiction with what you're saying, but I mean, just to I was talking before about how your experience of the specious present can change, but that was all in the circumstances where the specious present was presumably related to what was going on in the physical body. But the point I wanted to make was that you may have a psychic or a mystical experience where your experience of time is very different indeed. So, for example, you might have a near-death experience in which your whole life is seen in an instant, okay, rather than just as a... So your 100 years is just seen in one moment, because in some sense your specious presence in that state of mind has expanded to be a whole life. And my understanding is, from the literature, not from experience, is that in various mystical states, it's like you can be expanding, changing your specious present, like a dial on a radio, so that you experience the world at a different level of consciousness, and that different level of consciousness corresponding to a different specious present. And so, I mean, the point I was going to make was that it's very arrogant to assume that the only level of consciousness in the universe is the human being. I don't myself see why there shouldn't be a hierarchy of level of consciousness on timescales much larger and much smaller than the human being. I don't see why, for example, why there shouldn't be a planetary level of consciousness with a much longer specious present, maybe a day. Why there shouldn't be a solar level of consciousness, which might be 100 years. Why there couldn't be a galactic level of consciousness, and why there couldn't be a cosmic level of consciousness. So I would say within this perspective, this is why I'm putting the emphasis on specious present. I don't see why there cannot be a hierarchy of levels of consciousness associated with different, if you like, forms of embodiment, but also...
If I can ask
yes,
a question
yes.
into that. Because you are using the term, time related to the mind, right?
Yes, I'm now talking about time related to mind rather than to physics.
I'm saying the time, we experience time only because of our relationship with our body, not with our mind. In our mind, we can make 1 hour into 10 hours, 10 hours into 1 hour. We can, because on a certain given day, if you're very joyful, the day passes like 10 minutes. If you are depressed, the day passes like a eon. So this is a mental thing. Mind, how we see mind is, there is something called a Sat Chit Ananda, you have heard that, right? Have you? Sat Chit Ananda.
No, I don't know the terminology, I think
Sat
I know
means,
the concept.
Sat means truth or reality, Chit means, we are referring to Chit as mind, Ananda means blissfulness. So Sat is reality which is there. But we can only look at the reality through the lie of our mind. Sat is half there, half not there. It's a half a reality. Part of it is true, part of it is not true. Chit is a complete lie. You can make anything out of it. You can look at this and see a dinosaur there, genuinely. People do that.
So see a...
You can see a dinosaur or an elephant standing there right now, though it is not there.
Right, a dinosaur.
Yeah. You can see an elephant standing there, though it is not there. You can look at this person and think, oh, she's evil. You can look at that person and think, oh, she's beautiful. You can look at that person and think something else. This is all lies made up in our mind. We can make up whatever we want. This is the beautiful thing about our mind. We can even make an absolute lie into reality, a total lie, something that never existed. We can make it into a reality of our own. This is a phenomena that we have a kaleidoscope, we can make whatever. With little information, we can make so many things out of it. But that's not an instrument to explore. Kaleidoscope you can enjoy, but you cannot make that into an instrument of exploration. Body is more reliable. Body never lies to you. Hello?
But there are different levels of body, I mean…
Yes.
From what you were saying,
Yes.
Physical body, mental body, I mean…
Yes,
whichever
I'm right now
terminology.
saying the physical body never lies It's telling you the truth, isn't it? You want us to stop?
So that's interesting. Sadhguru, at the very beginning there, was saying, I think he's saying exactly what he's saying, where, our minds, our mind has a kind of a different time, like he said about when you're having so much fun, the day goes by in an instant. When you're sad or depressed, the day's taking forever. I believe that's what he's talking about. That's how I understood it. But it's very interesting that when Sadhguru talks about like the dinosaur or the elephant in the room, and this makes me think of what I call subjective reality, meaning that it's a reality that only the subject experience and no one else. So for example, you may be seeing me, but I'm really not here. I'm just all in your, well, I was going to say all in your mind, but that's actually true too. I'm in your imagination, not in your mind. What you're watching right now is not real. So that's a subjective reality. And if you show someone else, they'll say, no, I don't see anyone. I don't see that person talking over there. That's weird to say. I don't see that person talking over there. But yeah, like you say, oh, there's an elephant there, and I say, hey, do you see that elephant? And it's like, you don't see the elephant. Do you see the elephant? No? That's subjective because only you see the elephant. Objective reality is when you see the elephant over there, you do. You see the elephant over there, you do. Okay, we can verify from other points of perspectives. That's what I call objective reality. Then there's the absolute reality. I haven't said this in a while, actually. The reality is the subjective is personal, objective is other people we all can verify, and absolute is, well, Brahman. Or for me, you could call it like whatever everything is created out of, which is existence, which is Brahman in a sense. It's interchangeable for the most part for me, because nothing, if it's not existence, it's nothing. So therefore, and anything that exists is existence. So, but anyways, those three realities made me think whenever he said about the dinosaur or elephant. So subjective reality, only one person sees it.
Mental body, physical body, I'm asking. So I'm saying when you get hungry, you get hungry. But mind can tell you, no, you're not hungry. Mind can tell you when you don't need food, mind can tell you, you need to eat. Oh. But body tells you truth about everything. When it's cold, when it's hot, everything is the way it is. But mind can make it whichever way you want. What is pleasant for one person is unpleasant for somebody, what is unpleasant is pleasant, because mind makes up all these things. This is the mind as we see it right now. We are just essentially talking about one aspect, which is the intellect, which is what today in modern societies we have strived to develop, because it produces results for us. In daily life, it improves our life in so many ways. What does improvement in life mean? Essentially it means we get to handle our survival process more and more efficiently. That's all improvement is. This is why, though compared to how, let's say how our grandparents lived and how we are living today, probably every one of us have 10 to 20 times more than what they had, we are not any more joyful or any more liberated than them, though people claim. It is not. When you look at the people on the street, their faces, they're driving their dream cars, when you look at their faces, you know they are no better. People who walked or bicycled were also like that in the past. I am not saying we are more miserable, but we cannot claim because of these comforts we have become more joyful. We become more comfortable, more convenient life, more possibilities in the physical world, all that accepted. But this doesn't change the experience because it's the mind which can create whatever you want. Some people who manage their mind well, they see a good picture on their kaleidoscope. Some people who don't know how to manage that, they see a bad picture all the time. But that's got nothing to do with the reality. So when we are using an instrument like this to explore the fundamental reality of our existence, it'll give us a bad picture. Telescope is a good thing, kaleidoscope, no.
So that's… Can I ask you a question? Because you're talking about you see the dinosaur or the elephant.
I didn't, I'm just…
That was your example, but would you regard our theories of… from physics, our theories of the world as being like the dinosaur and the elephant?
No, I'm not saying that. See, the theories of the world, I'm not saying they're all wrong. That's why I said they're pointing in the right direction. But even if you point in the right direction, let's say right now our vision, like some other, like a fly or a grasshopper or a mosquito, is only 10 feet. Let's say both of us can see only 10 feet. We can think, okay, these 2 rows of people are sitting there, maybe 20 rows are there, maybe there are more people, and we start looking. But still our eyesight improves, we're not going to see them.
Right, but
So it's extremely important now. In my perception, science has never pointed in the right direction. In the last 25, 30 years, they're beginning to point in the right direction. When they're pointing in the right direction, developing instruments to see further is very vital now for emancipation of humanity from being stuck in their own cycles.
Well, I mean, again, yet science, there's a lot of claimed science in the past. Science is something that humans, I believe, has always done, whether we knew it or not. And all it is trial and error. You could say science and trial and error are essentially the same, because that's what scientists do. Let's say what happens when we mix these 2 chemicals, hopefully I don't die. And that's how we discover like penicillin. It was all a lot of it's kind of weird to say that a lot of the things that are in science are discovered by accident. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them. And again, science is trial and error. So yes, science is going to make a lot of mistakes. That's the whole point of science. It's discovery, finding out what does work. So to say that science makes a lot of mistakes, like, yes, that's the whole point of it. You can't bash science for saying you make a lot of mistakes. Like, that's the only way we will learn the truth, by discovery, by doing. And by doing, you're going to have mistakes. And when science makes some mistakes, that is a good thing, because you learn. You know what not to do. By mixing those 2 chemicals, you created the atomic bomb. Right then and there. But you understand what I'm saying. So yes, of course, Sadhguru is saying, science has been pointing in the wrong direction for a lot. It does. It points in every single direction. And from that every single direction, it tries to find the right one for particular problems, though, for sure.
but you see, when you're talking about eyes, there are the physical eyes. But what interests me is that, for example, if one has an out-of-the-body experience, one floats around, one sees things, but one's not actually seeing anything through one's physical eyes. So it's as though there's a different level of body embodiment, a different level of eye, a different sort of light with which one is exploring the world. So are you making this remark just in the context of physical?
In every context, I'm saying, suppose it's true that somebody slipped out of their body and floated around. I can show you some examples which are stark, unbelievably stark, which will be shocking for most people. Leaving that, let's say somebody here slipped out, this is a good candidate.
Yeah.
She slipped out of her body and went around. But to see physical light, you need these eyes. I can't see physical light with my hands. You need these 2 eyes to see physical light. Because this whole problem of light, this has come because what is metaphorical is being taken literally by a whole lot of people. I think it's Patanjali who made the mistake, maybe even before him somebody must have, where he said, if you bring yourself, distance yourself from your psychological and physiological process, a new light will arise within you. When he says light, he's not talking about this physical light which is traveling at 186,000 miles per second. He's talking about a new clarity has come. You see things totally differently because things are crystal clear to you. But to see this light, you need these 2. Without these 2, you don't see this light.
Right, but this lady, she is…
Not this one, that
she
one.
Is using…
that
oh,
one.
sorry, I got the wrong lady. Is it true to say she is using a different sort of eyes and a different sort of light?
We cannot call it eyes, because when somebody is beyond the body, they're not seeing a damn thing. But that does not mean there is no experience. Experience is coming because of inclinations, inherent inclinations which we call as karmic vasanas. That means because you have a certain volume of information, even in your subtlest form, you have a certain volume of information. Information, if there is no intent, it creates an inclination. Suppose you sit here, you have no intent as to what you should do right now. Now you go by your inclinations. Some people will pluck the flower like this, some people will drink something, some people will smoke something, some people will simply sit here and dream something. This is an inclination. If you don't have an intent, naturally your memory creates an inclination. We call this inclination as vasana. Vasana means… literally means smell. Why we calling it vasana is because in the animal world, it is the smell which plays a big role. Even in human life, smell plays a massive role, but people are not noticing it simply because of their cerebral activity. A whole lot of research has gone into it now, various types of research. People are saying, these scientists saying, okay, they are saying you might have chosen a husband or a wife or a partner in your life because of an unconscious sense of smell you have about that person.
Actually, there's a good point, just pause, and I'll say a little bit something further with that one too. I've watched this quite a long time ago, and what they did is they had a group of people, men, take a shower, put on just plain white cotton t-shirts, and played basketball, some sports, and sweated in the shirt. Then after that, they removed it. They didn't wear any kind of deodorant or anything like that. They made sure that they washed it all off, and so they just smelled as themselves, and then put it in a Ziploc bag. Then women went out there and smelled and smelled the shirts, and actually they opened up the Ziploc and smelled, and some of them found some of the shirts attractive because of the smell. And then I think they even did another experiment where a husband was part of the shirts, and the woman could smell him out. Again, no cologne, no nothing, but there's a particular scent or smell, and uniquely to us, I believe. Again, this is a long time ago, so I don't know if that's still true today, but it does seem to make sense, and Sadhguru is here pointing that out exactly, which is, again, brings back that memory of mine. And it's very interesting. Again, a lot of things that I learned from science, Sadhguru is here pointing it out, and just, it's very, very interesting. So anyways, there is some truth to that. There's a pheromone. I mean, again, you look at the animal kingdom, they're full of pheromones. So, since we are part of the animal kingdom, that wouldn't be doubtful to be true, where we do smell. We're probably pulling a little bit away from that, but at the same time, we're still animals. We still have the lizard brain, and we still probably have that instinct of that smell, the pheromone. Anyways, I'm gonna pause right here. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up the sound down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.